All right, so we're going to talk about Zoom breakout rooms. This week we were focusing a lot on assessment practices. And while breakout rooms can be used for assessment, like for small group discussions and different, kind of ways to figure out what kids know and have them demonstrate learning in small groups, they're also good for engagement. So this will kind of bridge a couple of different topics that the coaching team will be talking about over the next few weeks, with assessment being the focus this week. But as I work through getting materials together, I realized I'm like, this is a lot about engagement as well. So I will admit people as we go if new people come in. And I'm just going to run through a little bit of the setup and also a little bit some ideas for use. So I'll share my screen. And for now, I'm in my Zoom settings. What I want to show you, though, is first, on the distance learning support site that we are continuously updating, I hope you have this bookmarked. I have it in the signature of all my emails. So any emails from me, you'll be able to get to the main site. And we have a Zoom page under online tools. And then I also added Zoom breakout rooms. So because we have this list in alphabetical order, sometimes Zoom is off the page. You have to like scroll down to get it. But there's also a search icon in the upper right. So you could just go and type Zoom, and then you would be able to come to the Zoom page. And here is the Zoom breakout rooms link. It's also accessible from the menu. It's just like I said at the bottom. So first of all, Zoom breakout rooms are great for synchronous discussions. So a lot of virtual learning is done asynchronously, and we realize that. But you also might want to have some times where students are engaging in a synchronous environment, meaning at the same time. You can split your Zoom meetings up to 50 different sessions. That's probably not going to happen, but I guess I would think you'd have to have at least 2 people in the Zoom breakout room. But if you can do it with only 1, then I guess you could meet individually with students in your breakout rooms as well. The first step is to make sure that you have your breakout rooms enabled. So that's in your meeting basic settings right here. So I have breakout rooms slid over. And I think at first that is going to be not on. So the first step is to make sure that you have your Zoom breakout rooms enabled. Oh, it might be in the advanced section, which is what I have highlighted here in yellow. This is a link on the site on how to do that. And then I know that someone asked about pre-assigning. So we're going to take a look at the breakout. We're actually going to participate in a short breakout room just so you can kind of get the feel for it. And I want to make sure that we're not confusing breakout rooms with breakout boxes, because somebody emailed me and they're like, I'm so excited to come to your breakout session on Friday. And I thought about it, I'm like, I think that person is thinking about breakout boxes. So that's just a clarification. You can pre-assign participants to breakout rooms. So this is a screenshot right from the Zoom website so that you can realize that a lot of these directions are already available to you. So here is the link for pre-assigning in this creating breakout room. So I'll make sure and send that directly to you, Melissa, if we don't get to do it today during our meeting. You need to select the number of rooms you want to create and how you want to assign them, automatically letting Zoom do it or you manually doing it. So that's really going to be up to your preference. If you're working with students, that then you might want to manually decide. You want to take your total number of students and then divide that by the number of groups that you want. This reminds me of being an elementary teacher where I'd say, all right, I need to have 6 groups and I have this many kids. How many do they have to count off by? So this eliminates that counting off activity. I'm going to have some tips for you on managing your breakout rooms and activities to do, but I wanted to just kind of run through the breakout room first, if that's okay, so that you can quick participate. So I'm the meeting manager, so we're going to look at these tips after the fact. And all I'm going to do is give you like 60 seconds to experience the breakout room. I feel like as a teacher that a lot of the issues come in when I don't know what it's going to be like for the students. So if you just take this time, you can talk a little bit to each other, and then we'll go over some of the different things you might encounter or settings you might want to adjust. So on my toolbar, which you probably can't see now along the bottom, because I have breakout rooms enabled, I have a breakout rooms button. So when I click the breakout rooms button, I get a pop-up that says I have 10 participants. It's already counted them up. And how many rooms do I want? I'm gonna put you guys into 3 rooms, and it tells me, hey, you have 3 to 4 participants per room. And like we saw on the settings page, it's asking me automatically or manually. And I'm gonna go ahead and just say automatically and create my rooms. Now, what happens there when you get into your room is you guys will be able to communicate with each other, and I, as the instructor, will be able to pop in and out of rooms. So when I click create rooms, now I have, I'll just tell you, I have Jill, Summer, Ginny, looks like Jay in 1 room, Diane, Eric, and Stacy in room 2. Then I have Joyce, Melissa, and Mrs. Roca. Is it Roca or Rocha? Roca. I hate to say it wrong.
It's Rocha.
Rocha. I hate to say people's names wrong, so thank you for that. And then I have a few options here where I can decide, do I want to move you automatically? Do I want to allow you to come back? How long do I want the room to be open? Do I want to manually open and close it? Like, a lot of different settings are there. It's only 1, 2, 3, 4. Countdown after the breakout room. So I am going to say that the breakout room is automatically going to close after 2 minutes. All right, and then you're going to return to the main room. So some of the tips I'm going to share with you are what the kids can and can't see during the breakout room, and that's going to be kind of important because you're going to want to know that. So I'm going to go ahead and open the rooms, and you've gotten an invitation, and now you want to go ahead and join your room and be able to work with your folks. All right, so during this time, you can see that everybody is in the room, and then I can click over and join in the room.
Through Zoom yet?
Yes,
And how did it go?
it went very well.
Okay. I'm thinking of doing this for my kids when I try to do progress monitoring, and that's why I have Joyce and Liz on it as well. I'm thinking that if I create these breakout rooms, I can have them do progress monitoring with kids.
That you have this option.
Right. No,
And
that's really cool.
From what I'm in the very near future.
What did you say there? It broke up.
I think Meet is coming out with something similar to this.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to leave this room. So I
Good.
can,
Get out
I
of
make
here.
them for so short that I'm like, all right, I got to get to the other room real quick.
Figuring it out.
Yeah.
Hey, ladies. So Melissa will definitely get to answer your question. And I just heard Summer saying she was thinking about using this for progress monitoring. And that's why she has Joyce, and it's Elizabeth, right?
It's Elizabeth or Liz.
All right, Liz. I'm going to go with Liz. That's going to, then it won't, I can say that right 100% of the time. Melissa, I'm sorry if I won't answer your question on this meeting, but I think, you know, I know you can do that, and I have the link to help you out with that.
That's fine. I just haven't been brave enough to try it yet. It's so easy to just hit let the Zoom do it.
Yeah. All right, I got the pop-up, so I'm going to click close, and we're going to head back.
Okay. I like to think.
Great profile picture, Melissa. Oh, well, now everybody's not back yet, unless people left. Here we go. Oh, it says they're going to close in 40 seconds. So I guess people in breakout room 1 are still talking. Oh, here's somebody new to the meeting overall. Here they come. Okay. So it looks like everybody's back. Awesome. There is also, you can have a whiteboard function. There's other functionality you can add in, even in the main Zoom room, you can do things, but also in the breakout rooms, you can have other features with whiteboards and things like that. But we're sticking to the basics today. I'm gonna share my screen just to share a few of the tips I have. I really think it's exciting when people say they've already done some of these things. And even if you say, oh, I just kind of was winging it, I think that's really great. And we would love it if you share that information with us. I'm going to share one Zoom tip with you. I have my Google Slides here. When you click present on your Google Slides, I feel like it really decreases your ability to interact with your Zoom audience. So I tend to keep my slides in this view if you're going to be doing that. Now, obviously that exposes your speaker notes and those sorts of things. So you have to just keep that in mind. So some breakout room ideas for homework checks, small discussion groups. You can divide class into teams. So usually when we think of groups, we think of small groups. But in this case, you might just have 2 teams where they have to make a decision, debate a topic, make a plan, that sort of thing, and then come back and talk about it with the whole group. You can use this also for collaborative work. So for small group projects, they can, you can give the topic, you can, spend 20 minutes in breakout rooms where you go between the breakout room, every 5 minutes to listen in and give feedback, and maybe they have to create a presentation, and then definitely small group discussions. You might want to remind students of etiquette, like assign roles just like you would in the classroom, a timekeeper, somebody who's going to be the reporter. These are just cooperative group roles that I had even as a 3rd grade teacher. So you might find those useful. And sometimes when you have more than 3 students in a breakout room, they could have some sound issues. So that would be something you want to talk to them about. I had a talk with a middle school teacher just yesterday, and she was very excited about breakout rooms because she taught a mini lesson to the whole group, broke them into small groups so they could work on the strategy, and then she checked in periodically, and at the end, they shared what they found out and she clarified any misconceptions. She felt like it was really a great way for students to feel less intimidated and more able to speak up in the small group versus the whole group. And she felt like it really made her virtual teaching more effective because she was able to provide immediate support. So I think that's really awesome to hear, especially when this is something she probably just tried on her own, but it went very well with the students. Even if you have technical problems, but you feel like the application of the resource went great, I think that's worthwhile. And students reported that they were more confident in their ability to finish the assignment later after the meeting was over. So we do have some tips for you that when you send students to the breakout room, that if you have a chat box, they cannot see the main chat box, but only messages you send when you're in that room. So that's something to keep in mind. And when they come back from the breakout room, that the chat might have been wiped clean. So I think that's important, a little tip for you. If they're using the chat in the breakout room to communicate and take notes and have ideas for a project, you might want to direct them to do that on a Google Doc instead, because they might not have that after the fact. And also, say you have a slide like mine with the directions, when they go to the breakout room, they're not going to see that necessarily. So they might want to take a picture with their phone or write it down on a piece of paper so they know what they're doing. Just something to keep in mind. I think discussion groups, it's called a breakout room, but I think the main thing we think about is a discussion group. And for reading, for books, for math strategies, for science topics, really for anything, you can have discussion groups. And in an online learning environment, discussion groups, whether they're typed out or these sorts of virtual meeting discussion groups, discussions are really going to be the crux of your online learning environment. That's where you're going to be able to tap into what the students actually know and how they're able to demonstrate their learning. So a collaborative assignment obviously is a great idea to branch out after a regular discussion. Well, this is what we just kind of experienced. You saw me pop into your meeting, so you can check in, but you might want to let them know, like I let you know that I was going to pop in and check on you. That should help keep the conversations on topic. I think that would be important to let kids know. There's a broadcast message that you can send to each room, keeping in mind that there's a limited number of characters, so that's just going to be brief prompts. I didn't use that today, but that is something you might want to employ, so you don't always have to be popping from room to room, but so that you can actually send them a message. I just wanted to check in. I want to see if you have any thoughts or questions or ideas. I have a couple of more tips for you, but I wanted to also just have a little discussion about it, get all your questions, and make sure we can get those answered. So Melissa has used breakout rooms. Jill, Summer's thinking about progress monitoring. Cece, do you have ideas? I see you just muted, but now I'm calling you out for Stacy for math, or well, there's two Stacys now. So Stacy Kipple for math or Stacy for your reading groups?
I think my honors kids would like this because they normally, like at the start of each class, like they have their homework answers in Schoology that they check on their own each night anyway, and then they kind of break into groups like to ask questions and stuff with homework, like at the beginning in a face-to-face class. I think they would probably maybe like this to kind of still be able to do that. And yeah, and to work together.
That's a great idea, to have the breakout room at the beginning of the class as a way to, either at the beginning or the end, to kind of simulate the face-to-face environment, a little bit of routine. I think that's nice. How about you, Stacey? Are you thinking about using this with elementary students for reading groups?
That's why I came to today's session. I just wanted to see what it was like. Right now, we're mostly helping kids one-to-one that are, signing up for individual help with their classwork. But I thought if I could start, doing some small group work with kids, I'd like to know how to use it.
Mm-hmm. I wonder also if you had multiple reading specialists on the call with kids that you could assign so that you would be with one group, and maybe if Ginny was the other one, she could be with the group, and you could do individual topics, but in a one meeting. That would be interesting.
Which that just reminded me, I thought it might be good because I go to some of the teacher Zooms, and we could always, I could do a breakout with my kids while she's working with the general kids in the class.
Mm-hmm. That's a good idea too. All right. How about you, Diane? You have some ideas for library, book studies, book discussions? You're muted.
I always forget to do that. Jill and I, Jill just did one for the Justice Read book discussion group, and it worked really well. And she did pop in and out, and some of the other facilitators popped in and out. I was just telling Eric in our breakout room, it gave me a little anxiety. Even when I was just in, when I had to share my screen, I had a little panic attack. But Jill and I had talked about doing it for our summer book discussion groups, and she was going to do it since she doesn't get anxiety with doing it. But I thought I better at least know how to do it in case Jill goes down.
Well, I agree. And I think the more exposure, the less anxiety. That's, and don't forget that I'm not saying for your summer book studies, but things here during the school year, you can invite us to join if you need like a little tech support or just something to reduce your anxiety or someone to be there, just like we could in the classroom. We can do that virtually as well.
She has the best tech support in the entire district right in her house.
He's not home, he's at work.
Yeah, he's a little busy, I bet. I just referred somebody to Mr. Greenhold today. All right. Go ahead.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please do.
So can you co-host a meeting? Like a lot of the things I'm doing, I'm in a, I like the next one I'm doing with Mrs. Klanzik. So I would like her to be able to pop in and out the same as that I can. Is that possible? Can we have two people?
I'm going to look that up. I've been wondering that myself because I can go to you in the meeting and I can make you a host. But I have been in meetings outside of Southwestern where there has been more than one host. So I will look that up, Melissa. And you also want to be able to pre-assign, right?
Correct. I'm sorry. I'm giving you homework.
I was able to assign the host in the meeting to someone else so that they could present and move from place to place a little bit more easily.
But you can't have, like I was saying, you can't have 3 teachers as hosts so that they can independently move around without you or the main host being the person. I don't think that's possible.
What I did was assign time limits for the breakout rooms, and then they could, and then I moved them as needed.
Okay. Great.
So Jill, you didn't have any problems. I tried to move when I tested this with middle school teachers, and I tried to move Steph Klanzik from one room to another, and she got lost in outer space, and now that's caused her great anxiety, and she's afraid to do it again. So you didn't lose anybody?
I did not lose anybody. I thought I lost myself momentarily. That made me panic-stricken, but I figured it out quickly. So.
That actually did happen to me. I got kicked out of my own meeting when I tried to pop in. Luckily, Alicia Amsbacher was on the call, so I sent her a text real quick and told her to take over while I jumped back in. But it all worked out, but it was a little iffy there for a few minutes.
before I share the rest of my slides, I just want to make sure that everything that you just said there, like the things Melissa said, I think Eric and I take for granted, like we just kind of roll with it. But I hope everybody here just appreciate, or gives yourself a little grace and appreciation for all that you've done and all that you've learned and all that you will continue to learn over the next couple of weeks. Because saying, that so-and-so got lost or I lost myself, like that could really throw things off. But I think we all realize that not everything's going to go smoothly when we're doing things we have never done before. I think that's just something to remember. All right, these are my last tips for you, not too many. I found a good website. I'll make sure this link is on the tutorial page, plus it's in the slides, which is on that page, which they're on that page as well. That this particular web page talks about increasing engagement. So there are icebreakers, some different things like that. But I like this idea about brainstorming, which I think would go great at the beginning of a lesson. How might we do this or how might we do that? A way to initiate your virtual meeting with teamwork right off the bat. So you can, have them write their ideas on a Google Doc, or they can write them on notes and then share them when they get back to the main group. They can put them on Google Slides. They could do a lot of different things, as well as obviously just have a verbal brainstorm discussion. So I think that would be good. Here are a few more tips that you cannot monitor all the breakout rooms simultaneously. I mean, while it would be nice probably to be able to like see into each room, I don't think you would actually want to have like all that audio at once. So that would be probably not that enjoyable. You can only join one room at a time, and students must have a way to request help from inside the breakout room. I don't know if any of you noticed that or not when you were in there, and then invite the host, the instructor, to join them. And then you would get a link pop up that will send you right to the breakout room. And then your video will join in with the students, so they will see you. It's not like you'll just be secretly listening in. So those were the last couple of tips I had for you there. I want to also remind you on this page that we have the options for you to kind of go through and some of the different settings. But really what it comes down to is you understanding what your instructional goal is, and then using the breakout room to support that, whether it's engagement, whether it's instruction, or whether it's assessment, whichever kind of, whatever mode you're in at the time. So those are the main tips we had for you. And Melissa, I will follow up on the pre-assigning, and I will look into the co-host, but I'm kind of, I'm not too confident about that. And I definitely recorded this meeting, so you'll see all the pop-ups that I got, and I have a short clip from the IU as well that would provide that information.